stop loss. You can ask questions to an agent about that. All pretty straightforward, fairly easy to do, fairly it's a low risk way of getting into using some of the agentic technologies.
And Ryan, obviously, Fortune 500 financial company. What's happening in AI for Principal?
Yeah, this has been a really exciting space, especially part of my role is one, helping provide technology, our teams provide technology to enable customer experience, but I also have the benefit of owning a customer-facing call center as well, so I get to see both sides of this. It's been a really exciting time. One of the things that we've been really proud of and we're seeing a lot of value of is we really have invested a lot in how can we improve quality of the calls and really investing in how we continue to coach our call center agents and help leaders be able to have more robust conversations as they're coaching, whether it be a new agent or somebody more experienced learning a new skill. We now have the ability where we analyze every single call using generative AI. We're able to gather insights out of that. We actually have dashboards that every call center agent can go look at themselves to see how they're doing, whether it be looking at how they're answering questions with empathy if somebody's asking a really challenging question related to their financial services product that they're inquiring about, or how their ability to answer questions quickly. It's really providing new insights to folks. And then we've taken that, because we have that asset now of all that data, we're even seeing our ability to respond in unique situations really start to go up. So for example, anytime there's market volatility, or especially sustained market volatility, we will see a spike in calls. And it's one of those things where you're constantly seeking out what's the best way that we can help answer these questions, because these are questions people genuinely have. And they're things that are very important when you're talking about, say, their retirement or some other financial services product that they've really committed to for the long term. And this is allowing us now that when we start to see those spikes in calls, we can really get much deeper insights into what those calls are actually about that allow us then to say, do we need to change messaging in our web app? Do we need to do a notification through the mobile app? Is there something we can do in the IVR to help answer people's questions even faster? So that's been a really exciting thing. It's just given us just deeper insights into what our customers are really seeking.
Following up a little bit with that, so the next serious question is, what's happening with conversational AI in the contact center, and where does generative AI, where do we see as a prospect of that? We'll just go back with you, and you can continue to follow up with where you've already started.
Yeah, so obviously that's a great example where we've been leveraging generative AI, and one that we're really excited about. Some other examples that were talked about, Agent Assist is another one we really start to lean into, and really continue to build out that more robust way for our agents to be able to get answers to really challenging questions that our customers may have, and really ultimately just help them. We very much those experiences, but for what we do, the human side of our experience is really, really important. So anything that we can do to continue to personalize at new levels to really help people answer their questions more quickly is something we continue to invest in.
Great. Yeah.
I think in terms of generative AI, for me at least, the conversation AI has been discussed for a very long time. Maybe Siri was 2010, so it's been around for a very, very long time. I think what we've seen, obviously, with ChatGPT and LLMs, is I think they were kind of the missing link to link a bunch of technologies together. And so in terms of use cases, obviously, the ability now to have those natural language conversations over voice channels or digital channels is massively enhanced. And I think we're really at the cusp of quite a big change once we can get the voice conversations down to a latency that we can all kind of recognize as being long enough so that you know it's AI, but still short enough so you can have a proper conversation.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I've observed that in a couple of examples.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, most of the generative AI features, most of the features we're launching actually right now are generative AI features as well. Because just like if I just touch on Agent Assist or from tools like Agent Assist, the notion of helping an agent in their job, we can just coach AI, which is more than just smart replies. It's really providing the agent with different options, different suggestions on how to do their job better. That increases their confidence. It's a new metric of agent confidence is one that some of our customers are measuring. So that's really helping them do their job, reduce the average handle time and first call resolution, obviously, but it's really making them more confident at their job. It's super important. On the insight side, we also just launched Quality AI, which allows you to evaluate the performance of your agents across the entire gamut of calls that you have. Before you would look at some conversation and kind of measure that performance. Now you can look at every conversation, voice and chat, and have a performance metric that you define. And say, was that call completed? Was that call, was the agent nice with the customer, or greeted the customer, or asked the right set of questions, etc. And you can really query the logs, like query the conversation in a way that you could never do that. You could never do before. So those are on those two areas, we see a lot of benefits in the generative AI.
Yeah, what's interesting is we wrote these questions 3 months ago, and so we're already out of date. So
It's only been 2 years.
okay. So the analytic AI is what Brian was saying. That's exactly where we're at. You know, before we brought in those types of tools to our contact centers, we could actually look between 2 to 4% of all the agent interactions, and just not get a good handle on what's going on. And using these AI tools, we actually look at 100% of the agent interactions. So we're able to look at emerging trends, what's going on exactly, like if there's market fluctuations. We're able to look at red flags much quicker and react to those a lot quicker, or any security concerns. In terms of the agent assist has been a big topic. And we are just starting to tiptoe our toes into that. The struggle for us right now is every vendor's got an agent assist product, and we're trying to figure out how to piece these together into a cohesive product.
Awesome. Couple of things I'll mention which are super exciting to me, and as I believe these will drive real world outcomes for our customers. So we spoke about across the panel a few specific features we all are investing in. I think the beauty would be when, so as an example, you mentioned emerging trends or themes in a contact center, right? So we all, sounds like everybody is working on that, which is awesome. But the real beauty is, once you have identified, say, a new type of contact that you're getting now with generative AI, of course it will do a good job identifying those emerging themes. And now when you look at those themes, and then you are able to identify using, agent evaluation data that we were speaking about, that here is my 5 agents who are skilled to manage a similar contact type. And I'm getting these new types of contacts which I had not planned before. So there's a risk to my service level, there's a risk to my end customer experience. So the real beauty is when you start connecting the dots and move the data around. So from identifying an emerging theme to now using that to identify which agents should be offered overtime as an example. That's where really the customers would see even more value beyond the siloed features that we have been talking about. So I'm super excited about that. The only other thing I will add, I think this was touched upon a little bit, is the agent morale is super important. And this has been a challenge where previously when customers were looking at several specific touch points, so I'm going to pick 2% of my contacts and look at how the manager performed. It's not always enough, right? So with generative AI, we are able to now do that. Plus, not just that, we are able to identify the behavioral skills as well. So if I'm delivering a bad news to the end customer that, hey, I'm not going to be able to refund for a last minute flight cancellation, I'm doing the right thing. I'm following the SOP. But in the prior world, I would have gotten a negative CSAT score, may have been penalized for that, right? So we kind of moved away from that, and now we are looking at did the agent actually deliver the right thing for the end customer with the right behavior.
Okay. So, now we've kind of tossed out a few things: agent assist, call analytics, going back, collaboration and AI assistance and such. So, how should enterprises think about actually buying AI? And obviously, AI is in so many products now. But what kind of a buying posture should an enterprise have towards, Ron mentioned, every vendor's got this feature, every vendor's got that feature. Is there a kind of, is this just kind of a best of breed choice where you just you have to study and figure out who's got the best of this particular AI enabled feature? Or how do you think about that? And let me start with Jay. Go around.
Well, we were just discussing this backstage. I think the issue is, it's one of the toughest issues, I think, for enterprises today, because they have to decide between times innovating quite quickly and maybe having a point product they see out there, or looking at a platform vendor that actually has to do the hard yards of integrating their solution to all the other solutions they provide you. So there is a bit of a trade-off between innovation and maybe taking a longer-term view. Now, I think our view as a platform provider very much is around the idea that this is a long-term game and that trust matters. It's long-term trust in the vendor. And do you trust some of the vendors you may be working with, especially the smaller ones, to be around in 5 years? There'll be quite a lot of change in that time frame. Do you trust the security stance that they may have, the privacy stance, the values of the business, their transparency? So I do think there's a lot of considerations beyond just getting a VOC done or just getting the kind of innovation delivered. I think that there is very little at times. You've seen some vendors here all talk about AI assists, real-time coaching. We're all doing quite similar things. So I do question how much proprietary advantage anybody's really got. And actually, I think it's much more of a, can you come together with other businesses as genuine partners to iterate over the next few years to this future? And that's what we were discussing earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a really challenging question right now. If you were to ask me this 2 years ago about technology, you take it to a buy versus build type dialogue, right? In a company like Principal, we typically look to the marketplace where if there's things available in the marketplace that we don't think are differentiating to our business, we would purchase those, and then we would build the others. I think the pace of AI innovation right now is probably causing us to pause and rethink some of those maybe long-held assumptions and practices. Just a few examples as we continue to work through this. In the call center space, there are numerous agent co-pilot solutions out there. And some are building a very specific niches, some are building as part of a platform. And then there's also, we can go look at any one of the hyperscalers, and they're providing the building blocks to create those things. What I find us continuing to gravitate towards right now, especially in this time where there's continued to be rapid innovation, is we're seeking flexibility. And so really seeking solutions right now that give us the flexibility to your point, to continue to iterate. And that may go against maybe historic buy versus build type decisions we would have made historically. But we think right now that that's the most important thing. The other thing that probably weighs into that decision, being in a highly regulated industry, a lot of the solutions in this space probably are not completely there yet from a compliance and regulatory perspective of what a financial services company like Principal Financial Group needs to live up to. And so that's probably the other thing that's continuing to weigh in, where we continue to partner with organizations and understand how they're continuing to grow and evolve with various different use cases across industries.
Got it. So Anthony, picking up on that idea of flexibility, being flexible for your customers, how do people think about that?
Yeah, I mean, those points were actually great. I really love the point on trust, on the fact that you need to bet on companies that are going to be there in 5 years. And flexibility, we don't know what AI is going to be in 3 years. Literally, it's at that point the pace of evolution is so fast that you need to have systems that are scalable, flexible, can change, can adapt. Buy versus build question is super important. You may be tempted to build because you really get to very good results very, very fast with very little skills. The problem is when you get to production. And I would caution everybody against the power of demos. Their demos are very, very good. They're actually impressive. But when you actually put that in front of millions of calls a year, it doesn't work as well. You need to be very, very careful with that. And so having a partner with you along that journey that can help you get there fast, but then get that last 20% right and actually get to the business outcome you're looking for is super important. And being able to adapt, there's new models coming out all the time. There's optimized models as well, because not everything needs to go to a big LLM. You can have smaller models as well to more optimized tasks. And I think having partners that allow you to have the right set of technology to serve your business outcome is really what you should be looking for. And one thing we haven't touched on is security as well. Security is a big one. With GenAI, there's new types of threats. And so, prompt injecting is a weird one. People asking LLMs questions in a way that makes the LLM say things that they shouldn't, and having the right tools in place as a vendor to guardrail those response, protect you from those prompt injections is super important. So there's a lot to consider, and unfortunately, it's hard to follow for customers. So having a trusted partner.
Ron, how's Fannie Mae thinking about build versus buy, and what are your suppliers?
Yeah, that's a question. I don't think of it as build versus buy. I think of it as platform versus best of breed. There's no secret we're a Microsoft shop. So when Copilot came out, I was like, hey, let's roll this out to the enterprise now. Come to our talk tomorrow, you'll realize how difficult that is. But we are making great progress along that way, and it's a wonderful solution for the knowledge worker. When we first looked at that, I was asking Microsoft the question, but in what instances would I use 365 Copilot versus what instances would I use Azure OpenAI to get the results? And I was struggling with that. And I'm still struggling with that a little bit. Like, does Copilot give me an 80% answer which is good enough for the general person? Versus do I need a 100% answer that is correct? So we're starting to look at these best-of-breed solutions. I think there's a group that has a way to to look at curated content or knowledge management content for like our developer community that needs specific answers. We're starting with them because they have specific answers, huge win on what we can do. And that would be a best-of-breed type of solution versus more of a generalized solution for the rest of the organization.
And Himanshu, with when it comes to Amazon, obviously AWS people have a lot of levels at which they can engage with you in AI. How is that affecting how your customers are looking at the buying decision?
Yeah, so what we hear from customers a lot in the contact center space is two things, ease of use and real-world business outcomes. Some of it was covered here as well. We've done this in the past, like before even generative AI with speech analytics, our customers would come in and click a couple of boxes and get started, and we'll see real-time results like alerts going out to supervisors when a customer sentiment is going down, things like that, right? So I think that's super important, continues to be super important for the customer. We hear a lot like customers are not super focused on, as an example, which large language model we are using. They are more focused on, am I getting the right summarization experience? So my agent don't have to take notes. Or am I getting the right recommendation for a knowledge worker, as you mentioned? There are definitely a set of customers who have their IT teams and they love to experiment, and for that we have our Bedrock platform. It provides all our first party as well as third party foundation models. So they could always come in and experiment, but largely what we are hearing is we want to come in and see the value right away, and we don't want to do the heavy lifting on identifying which model to use for what use case. As mentioned earlier, innovation is happening so fast. It's a lot of overhead for our customers.
Okay, Jim, you have a question?
Yeah, I guess one of the big things that happens when there's a new technology that comes out is how do you monitor the value you actually receive? And we all know that from the high level coming down, all right, we spent a bunch of money here, where's the return on that investment? Sometimes it makes you do it beforehand. So we'll just go down the line again and try to answer that.
Yeah, this is something I think we're continuing to grow and mature at, and I think that the entire industry is growing and maturing at this as well. Obviously, efficiency and cost savings are top line things that we hear about all the time. I think that's a maturity type thing, because those are probably the easiest ones to kind of put out there and be able to talk to, speak to the value, especially as we work with business leaders to align on investments that we need to make. But one of the things that we continue to challenge as we look at different AI use cases is how do we think about what are those other measures, whether there be core outcomes that we want to achieve or even guardrail type measures. So as an example, if we're leveraging AI in particular on a customer experience like these, we think that's going to give us efficiency. We know at a bare minimum there is going to be a customer experience metric there. This would be guardrail. That came out very fast. And in many cases, you can get those win-win type situations where you get both efficiency and improvement in customer experience. We're also looking at strongly at employee experience in this and how we measure employee experience as we continue to adopt these solutions. Because that's another really important dimension here. The human aspect of this, what I'll call transformation of the way that we work, it can't be underestimated, and it's an area that we have to continue to lean in and provide training and coaching to help teams really rethink how they're starting their work every single day. And so the employee experience and how we roll things out is another really core metric that we're looking at.
Jay, how does Cisco, at least what you're looking at from your customers or any advice that you have?
No, I think in some ways some of this stuff is too early to tell because we all have the measures of CSAT, Auto CSAT, NPS, AHT. There's so, I mean, the industry's full of measures. But I think things like sort of how engaged your agents are will probably manifest themselves now in terms of lower attrition. Right? So in the next year or so, hopefully, agents are more engaged in their work. They feel as if they're being looked after through some of the coaching and everything else. And maybe you'll just get lower agent attrition, and that will feed itself into numbers. And over the next year or two, we'll see actually real return from that investment. Similarly, I think with employee productivity, if you're given the best tools to work with in your office environment, again, you might be more engaged at work and actually be able to get more things done. And I think these are kind of slightly, it's harder to measure those on a monthly basis, and you probably don't have any previous benchmarks. But they will ultimately come out in the numbers. So I think I see the early days of this measurement, and I think, like I said, the engagement rates should mean that over the next year or two, we see the benefits. One of the other things I think on the customer experience side is that you often end up having a customer experience. Like I've been calling my bank recently, and I actually don't mind calling them. And one of the reasons why I don't mind calling them is because they're now using voice biometrics. So it means that I don't need to go through a lot of stuff before I actually talk to a human and we're talking about transferring some money or something. And I thought, I'm never going to switch from my phone now. Because I can get through to that person, and my voice is my sign or whatever they have when they talk to me. And that just means now that they've got a very loyal customer. And I think some of these metrics will come out over the next few years. It's just going to take a bit of time. But yeah, I think AI is having an impact for sure.
Anthony, your thoughts?
Yeah, very briefly, I was thinking about this, Jay, like the AHT, all that is still there. The customer service rep confidence is one I mentioned earlier. That's a new one.
For the service?
For service rep.
Okay, yep.
Service rep confidence. The other one that's changing, it's interesting, is we talked about deflection rate a little bit. I'm starting to see customers who don't want to talk about deflection anymore, but really engagement. So and they're trying to increase the AI engagement rate. They want customers to not just go through an IVR and go to a human agent. They want to increase how many AI agents can actually handle this conversation with human in the background, potentially intervening if needed. But really, the AI engagement is a new measure that they're looking at.
Yeah, great. Ron, I know in our previous conversations you had mentioned that some of these are very important, some unique things you're doing.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Jay, because we are early on, and we're scratching our heads on how to measure value. And a lot of what the vendors are providing are, if you go to their dashboards, the number of people using the tool, number of chats engaged, number of emails. What does that tell me? It doesn't tell me anything. So we were conducting these pilots, and we were getting qualitative measures. Yeah, I saved, I don't know, pick a number, 10 minutes a day. Well, what does that equate to? Do I go golfing an hour earlier on Friday afternoons? How do you measure the productivity out of that? So we kind of came to a realization that we need an evaluation framework. And we've put together a framework for evaluating AI across all the different AI landscapes. And for example, my colleague is working on one we're rolling out it's a Copilot chat now. We're rolling that out to the enterprise. And part of that framework is how are we going to determine the value across the entire enterprise? We use Cloud Sonnet to actually look at our employee data and find out all the personas that would to bifurcate the personas. We asked the LLM what is the roles of those, so we could really help identify. That's helping HR, by the way, which is good. And then we asked the LLM, what kind of tests should we give these different personas to determine the value, to evaluate the value? And we're conducting A/B testing with ones with Copilot, ones without, and then measuring the results. And that's for that specific case. For other specific cases, we develop the OKRs for developer experience or what other tools we want to use, and we do a similar evaluation framework for that.
Yeah, I think you reconfirmed what Jay said earlier. It's really early. Okay. So what's Amazon finding?
Yeah, so most of the things have been covered, so I would try not to repeat that. You know, the traditional business outcomes should be measured, right? So it's productivity, AST savings, etc. The other thing we emphasize on is providing observability for our customers. What I mean by that is I'll take a specific example. So anytime I'm generating an after call with somebody for an agent, I want to track how many times it was edited. It's super important because that's how we learn how our LLMs are performing and technology is performing and how effective it is, and take that feedback and keep improving our models after that, right? So it's super important. So there is, we definitely discuss the agent productivity, agent morale, etc. But there is something about understanding how these technologies are performing. So we are learning from that and continuously improving. So we put a lot of emphasis on providing that observability and visibility to our customers, so they build that trust and confidence in the technology as the technology is continuously evolving.
All right. Well, that brings us just about to the end of our discussion. I want to thank our panel. It was some great real-world insights that I think they were able to provide, and some ways for you to think about how you buy this stuff, how you deploy it, what you use it for, what you need to be mindful of as you do it. So it's been a great discussion. I really appreciate it. We're going to take just a quick break after this. Stay where you are. It's only going to take a minute or two to reset the stage for our Microsoft keynote. But so don't leave the room. It'll happen in just a minute or two. But please join me in thanking this outstanding panel for the great discussion.